Y'all, everybody's got their own version of the American dream. For some folks, it's a big old house with a white picket fence. For us, it turned out to be 600 square feet paid for and just enough space to live the life that we wanted. A few years ago, my wife and I realized retirement was coming fast, and our savings would, let's just say we didn't need a calculator to figure out there wasn't much there. So we made a bold choice, built a tiny home debt-free, and reimagined what the American dream could look like. And now we're helping our daughter and grandson do the exact same thing, paycheck by paycheck. If you think that you can't have the dream because your budget's tight, stick with me because we're living proof that you can. Hey y'all, I'm Kevin, but most folks around here just call me PawPaw. If you've been thinking the American dream is out of reach these days, I get it. The big house, the big yard, the big mortgage, it all feels like it's for somebody else. But here's the truth, you can still have your version of that dream. It might not look like the magazines and it might be a whole lot smaller, but smaller can be better. In this video, I'm going to show you exactly how we made the American dream work for us and how you can start doing the same thing for yourself, even if your budget is tighter than a jar fresh out of the canner. So grab a seat here on the porch because by the end of this, I want you picturing your own tiny American dream and feeling like you've already taken the first step toward it. Because this isn't just my story, it's a roadmap for yours. So I was about to turn 50 when it hit me. Our kids were grown, grandbabies were starting to show up, and I still didn't have a plan for retirement. We'd raised a family of 5 on a modest income, and like a lot of folks, we spent years just trying to keep our heads above water. I'd cashed out my 401k years earlier to buy a trailer that we were living in, so that meant we didn't have any rent, but it also meant we didn't have a safety net. And when I looked ahead, all I saw was more years of work, no savings, and the very real possibility of struggling into retirement. Taking on a 30-year mortgage at that stage was risky, but it really was out of the question, and it was something I just didn't want to do. What we decided was we didn't need to make more money, we needed to need less. Less bills, less stress, less of the month-to-month pressure that keeps you up at night. And here's a hint for you, before you change where you live, change how much you need to live. And listen, if you've ever felt like you're working hard but not getting ahead, what I'm about to share with you could be your reset button. We knew we wanted a home. We knew we didn't want a mortgage. And that's when the tiny home idea showed up. Not the kind of designer model that you see on TV where a crew sweeps in, flips a switch, and suddenly you've got a house with shiplap walls, a sliding barn door, and a price tag that'll make you a little lightheaded. No, what we were looking for was much simpler. Something small, paid for, and that was ours. I've always been a little unconventional, so when I started looking at options, I didn't head to a realtor or a prefab home lot. I ended up at a place most folks drive right past without a second thought, a portable storage building dealer. I'm talking about the kind of place with rows of sheds out front. To me, these weren't just sheds. I saw blank canvases, 4 walls, a roof, basic framing, and the freedom to decide the rest. No granite countertops or fancy cabinets, just the bones, ready for whatever I could dream up and afford over time. It was the perfect match for how my brain works. See, I'm not afraid of doing things in phases. I'd rather build something piece by piece, paying cash for each step, than load myself down with debt for the sake of speed. With a shed, I could wire it 1 month, insulate it the next, and maybe hang drywall after that. Now, I won't lie, rent to own was tempting, and that's what we ended up doing. The down payment was small, the first month's rent wasn't bad, and before long, a big flatbed truck was rumbling down our driveway with our future sitting on the back of it. I'll never forget that day because watching that driver maneuver that building into place, I knew in my gut that we had just made the first step toward real freedom. Of course, not everyone shared my excitement. I had a few friends raise their eyebrows and say things like, "You're going to live in a shed," or "Why not just buy a normal house?" But here's the thing, normal was exactly what I was trying to get away from. Normal was a mortgage. Normal was 30 years of payments and no guarantee that you'd be left with a dime for retirement. And that's not to say rent to own is perfect. You pay more in the long run compared to buying outright. And if I could go back, I'd push harder probably to save up and pay cash. And I'd tell anyone thinking about this route the same thing. The less you finance, the more control you have. And whatever you do, do not, I repeat, do not cut corners on the foundation. I made that mistake the first time. Setting the building on basic blocks instead of a proper slab or piers. Let's just say I've spent more time than I care to admit crawling around under this house fixing problems that I could have avoided. If you want your home to last, start with something solid under your feet. Looking back, that first step, finding that shed, making it ours, was more than just a financial decision. It was a mental mind shift. It was the moment that I stopped thinking like a renter or a borrower and started thinking like an owner. Even if it was small, even if it was humble, it was ours. However small your home, the foundation, both the one that you build on and the one that you build your decisions on, is the last place to cut corners. Coming up, I'll tell you why we stuck to a new no debt rule and how it shaped everything that happened next. We had one rule: no new debt. It sounds simple enough when you say it out loud, but when you're in the middle of a build, it's about as easy as walking past the dessert table at a church potluck. See, when you're building a home, even a tiny one, temptation is everywhere. You walk into the hardware store looking for 2 boxes of screws, and somehow you're standing there looking at a shiny new miter saw that you absolutely have to finish that one cut just right. Or you're scrolling online for insulation and you see a countertop on sale that would be perfect for the kitchen. And then that little voice in your head starts saying, just put it on a card. You can pay it off later. But here's the problem. Later always comes faster than you think. And that just once becomes just once again. So we drew a hard line. If we couldn't pay cash for the next step, we waited. That's it. No loans, no credit cards, no quick fix-it. Was it frustrating? You better believe it. There were weeks where I had the energy, the tools, and the willpower to do stuff, but not the materials. I'd have to set the hammer down and wait. And that's a hard pill to swallow when you're watching progress crawl. But something happened during those pauses. We learned patience, we learned to plan better, and every time payday rolled around, we knew exactly what we were going to buy and how we were going to use it. There was no guessing, no figure it out later. It made each phase feel like its own little win. One month it was insulation. I can still remember putting the insulation in that first wall and feeling like we had actually moved forward. Another month it was wiring, which meant the day that we flipped a light switch and the room actually lit up, we both stood there grinning like kids on Christmas morning. Now, I'm not going to sit here and tell you that we followed that rule perfectly. Toward the end, winter was coming fast and we needed to get in the house. So we did make the choice to put some flooring and paint on a store card, and we financed our mini split. But, and this is so important, we went into both of those decisions with a payoff plan. We knew exactly how long it would take, and we stuck to it. Both were paid off quickly, and we never let them snowball into more debt. Here's what I tell beginners. The no new debt rule isn't about never swiping a card. It's about being intentional. If you borrow, it should be for something that adds value and comfort long term, not just to make progress look faster on your Instagram account. Looking back, I think the slow pace saved us from a lot of mistakes. When you build in phases, you have time to notice things that maybe you'd change, and you adjust your plan and you save money before you commit. We didn't just build a house, we built it in a way that gave us peace of mind. Your budget is part of your blueprint. If you don't stick to it, your foundation might hold, but your finances won't. Coming up, I'll show you what life looked like after we finally moved in and why that was just the beginning of the real payoff. Once the house was livable, you would think that we would have sat back, propped our feet up, and enjoyed it for a while. But if you know me, you know that I can't leave well enough alone. I'm always thinking, all right, what's next? And for us, next meant turning this little house into more than just a roof over our heads. We wanted a space that could sustain us, make us comfortable, and give our family a place to gather. One of the first big additions was a privacy fence. Now, I could have gone the traditional wood panel route, but those things are like milk. They look fine for a little while, and then they turn gray and start falling apart. So I did what I always do. I got on the internet, went down a rabbit hole, and found an idea that made my wife raise an eyebrow at first. A fence made entirely out of roofing metal. It turned out to be cheaper than wood. It'll last longer, and let's be honest, folks, I think it looks pretty sharp. Next came the tool shed. And if you're going to live in a small space, you need somewhere for all that stuff that doesn't belong in your living room, like lawnmowers and 57 different screwdrivers that somehow you accumulate over a lifetime. Having that shed keeps the main house clutter-free and my tools dry, which is worth its weight in gold. But my favorite project, the greenhouse and our garden. This high tunnel greenhouse, I added raised beds and we got to plant in it, and it was a whole lot of fun building, and it's been fun to have. Next, we added 2 apple trees, 2 pear trees, 2 peach trees, 2 fig trees, 5 mulberry trees, grapevines. We had blackberries, blueberries, you name it. Sometimes I'll see my wife out here with her cup of coffee picking her fruit, and it's just a simple luxury that money can't buy. These projects, all of them, weren't just home improvements. They were investments in our quality of life. They gave us healthier food, more privacy, and space for the grandkids to run wild without me worrying about them chasing a ball into the road. And here's the beautiful part. Because we'd built this house without a mortgage, these upgrades, they didn't break the bank. We could pay for them as we went, just like the house itself. And that's a freedom that you can't really explain until you've felt it. Finishing the build isn't the end. It's just the beginning of making the space truly yours. Now we're starting again, of course, building a tiny home for our daughter and grandson from scratch, one paycheck at a time. And this time we're doing it smarter from the ground up, literally, with better foundation work, more planning, and the benefit of everything we learned the first time around. So what have I actually learned from building a mortgage-free life and a home? First, financial freedom isn't about how much you bring in, it's about how much you actually need. Second, downsizing frees up money, and more importantly, it frees up your attention for the things that matter most. Third, you don't need a 6-figure income to build something amazing. What you really need is a plan, some patience, and just a touch of stubbornness. And if you only remember one thing from this video, let it be this: the size of your house has nothing to do with the size of your life. So if you've been dreaming about your own tiny American dream, I hope our story gives you a little push to start. And if you're ready for the next step, be sure to subscribe and turn on notifications, because in the next episode, How to Afford Your Tiny Home Dream, I will break down exactly how to make it happen. And remember, a rich life isn't about how you spend your money, it's about how you spend your time. See you guys.